The restaurant was expensive and loud, a wash of clinking glasses and polite laughter. But Mark didn't hear any of it. He was staring at his phone under the table, his blood running cold. Dad? Dad, pick up. Someone is in the house. Mark's fingers flew across the screen. Leo, are you joking? If this is about the Xbox. The reply was instant. No. The glass broke. Downstairs. The back slider. I heard boots. Mark stood up so abruptly, his chair screeched against the floor, silencing the table. I have to go, he said. Now. Mark, we haven't even ordered. A colleague started. But Mark was already sprinting for the door. Seconds later he was in his car, throwing it into gear. The engine roared, and he was speeding before the door was fully shut. Call 911, he shouted at the dashboard. Calling 911, the automated voice replied. While the line rang, the phone mounted on the dash lit up again. He's not stealing anything. He walked past the TV. He's just walking. Slowly. Leo, hide, Mark yelled at the phone, dictating the text. The panic room! Go to the panic room! 911, what is your emergency? My son is alone. 4202. Sycamore. Active break-in. He's 10 years old. Mark swerved around a sedan mounting the curb. Sir, I need you to stay calm. Units are dispatching. How far away are you? 20 minutes. Too far. Ding. I can't get to the panic room. He's at the bottom of the stairs. He's whistling, Dad. Why is he whistling? Mark gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. Tell them he's armed, he barked at the dispatcher. Do you know that for a fact, sir? Because of who I am, Mark said darkly. Because of my job. Just tell them to bring SWAT, miles away. Leo squeezed himself under his bed in the pitch-black room. His phone dimmed to the lowest setting. Through the narrow gap under the bed frame, he watched the hallway floor. He typed with shaking hands. He's on the stairs. Step. 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 He stopped on the landing. Mark was doing 90 on the highway now. He typed back, ignoring the road. Under the bed? Closet? Where are you? Under bed. Behind the storage bins. Don't make a sound. Put the phone on silent. Vibrate off. He's talking. He's talking to himself. No, Dad. He's talking to me. Mark almost clipped the median. He stared at the screen. What is he saying? A long pause. The typing bubbles appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. He said, Come out, Leo. Daddy didn't pay the bill. Dad, what does that mean? Mark slammed his hand against the dashboard, a primal scream of frustration tearing from his throat. Damn it, Kellen! You swore you'd wait. From under the bed, Leo saw heavy combat boots step into the room. They were caked in mud. The boots stopped. Leo held his breath. Tears streaming silently into the carpet. He's in my room. Mark pulled a toy water gun from his glove box and cocked it. 1 mile out. I'm at the turn. 2 minutes. Stay still. Did you lock the bedroom door? No, Dad. The boots stopped. He dropped something on the floor. A heavy, metallic object thudded onto the carpet, inches from Leo's face. It was a burner phone. It began to ring. The screen lit up the darkness under the bed like a spotlight. Leo stared at the ringing phone. The caller ID said, Daddy. Leo looked at his own phone, confused and terrified. Dad, are you calling a different phone? There's a phone on the floor. It says it's you. Mark stared at the text, ice water flooding his veins. I'm not calling anyone, he whispered. The phone answered itself. Speakerphone. From under the bed, the burner phone on the floor crackled to life. Hello, Mark, a voice rasped, distorted and metallic. Mark screamed at his phone. Don't touch him! I have the money. I have the files. Dad, the man is bending down. He sees me. He's smiling. Mark screeched into his driveway. The front door of his house was wide open. a gaping maw of darkness. He jumped out, water gun raised. "I'm here! Leo! I'm here!" He looked at his phone one last time before crossing the threshold. "He says you're too late. He says, run." Mark burst through the door. "Leo!" Silence answered him, just the hum of the refrigerator. "Kellen!" Mark ran up the stairs, taking them two at a time. He kicked open Leo's bedroom door. The room was empty. The bed was overturned. The window was wide open, curtains fluttering in the cold wind. On the floor, in the center of the room, sat Leo's phone. Mark fell to his knees and snatched it up. The screen was cracked. There was a new draft message typed out, but never sent. "He's not alone. There's two of the H." A floorboard creaked directly behind Mark. He froze. On the wall in front of him, a shadow stretched out, a distinct, jagged shadow of a man holding a crowbar. Mark tightened his grip on his water gun. "Where is my son?" The shadow raised the crowbar. "Ask him yourself," the voice whispered from behind. Mark spun around. A single water gun shot rang out, followed immediately by the sound of a child's laughter, distorted, echoing, and coming from the walls themselves. Mark fired. The muzzle flash illuminated the room for a split second, revealing the truth. The bullet didn't hit flesh. It shattered plastic. The shadow on the wall wasn't a man. It was a tactical vest, draped over a coat rack, rigged with a Bluetooth speaker. The distorted laughter wasn't coming from the walls, it was coming from the shattered plastic on the floor. "Smart, Mark. Very smart." The voice from the speaker changed, shifting from the child's laugh to a dry, familiar baritone. "Kellen." Mark kicked the speaker into silence and scrambled to the window. The cold night air hit his sweat-drenched face. Below, in the moonlight, the backyard was a wreck. The gate to the dense woods bordering the property was swinging open in the wind. He didn't take the stairs. Mark vaulted over the sill, sliding down the trellis, ignoring the wood splinters tearing into his palms. He hit the grass rolling and came up with his weapon leveled. "Kellen!" Mark roared at the tree line. "You want me? Take me! Let the boy go!" The woods were silent. Too silent. Mark moved forward, his training taking over. Kellen wasn't a random thug. He was an ex-intelligence operative. Mark had left him for dead in a botched extraction in Venezuela 3 years ago. Kellen had lost an eye and his reputation. Mark had kept the payout. That was the bill Leo had texted about. Mark entered the tree line. The darkness swallowed him instantly. Buzz. Mark's own phone vibrated in his pocket. He didn't want to look, but he had to. He kept his water gun trained on the shadows and glanced down. A video file was coming through. He hit play. The video was grainy, shot in night vision green. It showed Leo, duct tape over his mouth, eyes wide with terror, sitting in the trunk of a car. But it wasn't a car moving on a road. Through the rear window of the vehicle in the video, Mark could see trees. Stationary trees. The car was parked nearby. Mark sprinted. He knew these woods. There was an old access road a quarter-mile deep. He tore through the brush, branches whipping his face, drawing blood. He didn't care. He burst into a small clearing where the old gravel road cut through. There it was. A black sedan, engine idling, headlights off. Mark slowed down, chest heaving. He raised his gun, aiming at the driver's seat. It was empty. He circled to the trunk. "Leo?" he whispered. He reached for the trunk latch. It was already popped open slightly. Mark threw the lid up. Empty. Just a piece of paper taped to the spare tire well. It read, "Interest accrues daily." A twig snapped behind him. Mark spun, but he was too slow for the second man. Leo's unfinished text flashed in his mind. "There's two of..." A taser prong hit Mark square in the neck. The voltage locked his muscles instantly. The water gun flew from his hand. He collapsed into the gravel, his body seizing uncontrollably. Teeth gritted so hard he thought they would crack. As his vision blurred, two figures stepped into the moonlight. One was huge, wearing the muddy combat boots Leo had described. The other was slender, wearing an eye patch and a perfectly tailored suit. Kellen leaned over Mark, his single eye glinting in the moonlight. He picked up Mark's water gun and ejected the magazine with a casual flick of his wrist. "You run fast, Mark," Kellen said softly, crouching down so his face was inches from Mark's paralyzed form. "But you forget, I planted the listening devices in your house 6 months ago. I know you run fast. I also know you have a safe deposit box in Zurich." Kellen patted Mark's cheek. "We're gonna take a trip. And Leo? He's gonna be our insurance policy." Kellen stood up and nodded to the big man. "Put him in the trunk." As the heavy hands grabbed Mark, dragging him toward the darkness of the car, Mark's phone on the ground lit up one last time. It was a notification from his home security system. "Motion detected. Nursery." Mark's eyes widened as the trunk slammed shut, plunging him into darkness. He didn't have a nursery.